First question, right here.
Hi, this question is for Dana Balter. In Sunday's student-led debate, both candidates were asked if she would support the other if she did not win the primary. Ms. Perez Williams unequivocally stated that she would support you if you won, and she said your name. However, you pledged to support, quote, the nominee, unquote. That's a bit ambiguous and sounds to me and several other voters as if you might consider staying on the ballot for the Working Families Party and the Women Equality Party ticket. It's also kind of a evasive answer that New York 24 voters do not want to hear from their congressperson. We want clear, honest answers from our representatives. This is your opportunity to demonstrate how you are different from John Katko. If you would please just clear it up for your supporters and for all voters. What are your plans if Ms. Perez Williams were to win the Democratic nominee primary? Will you support her as a Democratic nominee, and will you state that tonight using her name? And will you pledge to remove yourself from the Working Families and Women Equality tickets if you do not win the Democratic primary, so as to not dilute the Democratic vote, which would ensure a win for John Katko?
So I'm sorry if I wasn't clear when I answered the question the last time. When I said that I would support the nominee, I meant whoever the nominee is. If Juanita Perez Williams is the nominee, I will be supporting her. As I've said from the beginning of this campaign, when I got in last September, my goal is to flip this seat, to replace John Katko with somebody who is going to stand for democratic values and democratic principles. I believe that I'm the best candidate to do that. That's why I'm running. If I do not win the nomination, and Juanita does, I will be supporting her in the race.
We've been losing a whole lot of younger progressive people. What are each of you doing to draw in the younger people that we have been losing? What are you doing differently?
Well, first of all, I've raised 4 millennials, and let me tell you what, they test me every day. They have been with me along this journey, and my kids teach me, just like I offered before. They talk to me about the fact that young people need to know someone is there focusing on their future, their student debt, their ability to get jobs, their ability to have a voice and to not be dismissed. So some of you may know I ran for mayor of the city of Syracuse, and I've been a candidate and had to make a movement of young people, and we were successful. And not only did we just get young people from certain parts of our city, but we got young people from throughout the county, all diverse backgrounds, all experiences, because for them what I offered was a voice. Not for me to lead, but for them to be the solution, for them to be a force of what they need for their future. And what do they want? What are they telling us? They want to ensure that they have better jobs, that they have good wages, that they can have a government that's not focused on profiting from them when they're in college, but helping them, supporting them so they're not in debt. They want to ensure that they have access to good quality health care also and aren't taking chances on their own health. And they want to ensure that their cities and their communities are safe and that they'll have an opportunity to raise their own families. That's what they want. That's what I have done. That's what I've done with my own children, and we're doing it now in this campaign. We've knocked on thousands of doors, made thousands of phone calls, and I have young people from high school to master's degree folks just coming in and wanting to be a part of a campaign that is about young people, their voices, and them being able to come up with the solutions that we need for this district and for this country.
So we've been working from the beginning of the campaign to involve young people in this process. I think it's incredibly important. It's what I do professionally, teaching citizenship at the university. What we talk about in that particular course is how incredible our democracy is, how we as individuals have the opportunity to engage in our democracy every single day, not just with our votes. That's the beginning, not the end of our engagement, but with the kinds of things that we are doing right now, with the kinds of things that all of you who are part of WARE and part of CRN and part of all the other community organizations that you participate in do every day. That's what we talk about, how we can have influence to shape the policy that affects our lives. I work very hard to help my students understand that, hopefully to inspire them to leave the classroom and do it. We've been working to get students involved in this campaign. We have lots of students who are volunteering and interning with us, students in college, students in high school, and even students in middle school. This week, I had a 10-year-old ask me if he could come and volunteer on the campaign. I said, come on in. The sooner we get you involved in politics, the better. I think it is incredibly important that we make space for young people to be involved in this process. One of the things that I'm advocating for in education is revitalizing civics education in our schools. We have to teach this to our kids from a really young age. We have to make sure they understand that each one of them has a voice that matters in our society, and that in schools we're equipping them with the skills they need to exercise that voice. And then, when they do stand up to exercise that voice, we have to acknowledge them, we have to make space for them to do it, and we have to listen to them. I am really tired of hearing the adults in the room dismiss kids. Our kids have shown us that they understand how complicated this world is, and that they have really important thoughts and ideas about what to do. We've seen kids rise up in this March for Our Lives movement in a way that is so inspirational. In Syracuse, they organized a march that had 3,000 people in attendance. And then a few weeks later, they organized a town hall for Our Lives. And they invited us as Democratic candidates, and of course we showed up. And they invited John Katko as their congressman. Guess what? He did not show up. And when they asked him why he wasn't going to show up, he told them that he thought those meetings were nonsense. Yeah, I get the gasp. A student stood up at that town hall and told us that. He told them it was nonsense. Never mind the disrespect that that shows for all of us, the people he supposedly represents. Never mind the disrespect that shows for the democratic process that he doesn't seem to understand. The disrespect that that shows for those children who are standing in his office, who are standing up to participate in and create democracy for themselves and their peers, that floors me. That is reason number 72 out of 837 that he needs to be done with this job. We have to be embracing and encouraging that, and that's something that not only as a teacher I do, but as a candidate I do, and as a congresswoman I will do at every turn.
For both of the candidates, we've been witnessing a tragedy along the border on the southern border. We have a border with the north, with Canada, that has in the past been the largest, longest open and free border. It worked very nicely. Now, each of you have an opportunity to talk about immigration. Candidate has already indicated that. Do you think it's possible that we could solve some of the immigration problems by solving some of the problems in the countries they're coming from?
Absolutely. If one of our concerns is to stem the flow of immigration into this country, we have to address the conditions that people are fleeing from. People are coming here from around the world for safety and opportunity. If they had safety and opportunity at home, they would not be trying to relocate. I think we need to do our part as a global partner to make sure that there is economic opportunity and stability around the world, that there is political stability. We particularly have to look at places where we intervene militarily, which is where a lot of refugees come from. We also have to address the issue of climate disruption, which is now a leading cause of displacement for people. We have to address all of these problems. Regardless of why they are coming, we also need to make sure that we have an immigration system here in this country that works. Right now, it doesn't. It is clearly broken. I don't think there is a person in this country or in our government who disagrees with that. And we need a system that works for our country. We need a system that helps keep our economy healthy so that in places like Wayne County, where a huge part of the economy depends on migrant labor, employers are able to hire the employees that they need. But we also have to ensure that that system treats people humanely so that the people who are coming here for work are protected and treated well. And there's no reason we can't have a system that does both. What we are seeing right now on the border is a travesty on the order of something I never thought I'd see it happen here. It's the kind of thing I have read about in history books and watched in movies, and never believed that I would see it in this country. And yet our government is doing it. They are committing human rights abuses. They are using those children that they have ripped away from their families as political hostages. I cannot believe that the president of my country is doing that. And what makes me just as angry is the fact that my congressman, the man who says he represents me, who has pledged to defend our democracy, to defend our Constitution, says nothing about it. It has been going on for weeks. He waited until yesterday, the day before Mike Pence came to town to join him, to say anything about it, and still he has done nothing about it. Silence is complicity. John Katko is complicit in those atrocities. We can't allow him to get away with it.
Of course we can. But I don't believe we'll be able to do it with Donald Trump. He is in no position to be negotiating or to be even having any contact with leadership from around the world about immigration in our country or about making any type of relationships with those who are adversaries. That's what's so frightening about him, that he's about trade wars, puffing out his chest, being provocative, causing problems where there are no problems, fighting with the Prime Minister, fighting with the Mexican president. There's no need for this. There's no need for this. This is opportunity for a leader in this world to work with other countries to ensure that we stabilize and help them in their economies and focus on opportunities for investment. When I was a little girl, I grew up on the border of Tijuana and San Diego. That's where I'm from. So this immigration issue hits me right here. My father, an American citizen, would walk me and my 3 brothers to the bus stop every morning. We were in a rural area. And the Border Patrol, because they could, would harass my father. To be a 10-year-old little girl and watch the Border Patrol ask your father, who's the President of the United States, speak to him in a very harsh tone, ask for his identification over and over again. A man that I loved so much and do now. who served our country in the Navy during Vietnam, who picked tomatoes as a young boy, fought with Cesar Chavez. These immigration issues that we're facing right now, they hit me so hard because I know there's a way to resolve this. But it has to come from someone who understands diplomacy, who understands we can't be the bully on the block. We're the global leader. And other countries, our allies, which many of these people are, will listen to us. They'll listen to us if we're about supporting their countries, supporting them in time of need. The photos that we're seeing from the borders of Texas are families with babies sleeping in the street, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for just a small piece of safety. We should be focusing on where they're coming from, what they need. And we can do that. But we've got this erratic leadership that, as Dana says, is using children as a tool to get what it wants. Yes, we need immigration reform, absolutely. But we made promises as a country. We promised that if you were here and you were productive and stayed out of trouble and let us know who you were, we'd create a pathway for citizenship for you. We took back that promise for millions of people. You've watched it. The fathers being pulled from their families in central New York. All you have to do is be on some of the farms out here and talk to the farmers. It's killing them. These families that have been with them. The chilling effect it has on not just undocumented, but documented people who aren't coming out, who aren't reporting domestic violence, as we all know. What we just saw happen in Pasotas Bay. Who aren't taking their kids to the emergency room. Who aren't coming out of the shadows. That's not the United States I know. And that my grandfather and grandmother came to. So we need to stand up to real reform. Not something that's attached to a wall that I know doesn't work. Because I live near one. It is crucial that we understand walls cause more harm to babies and families and make them vulnerable. And sending the National Guard, not the answer. Not the answer. It's called humanity. It's called being a leader and ensuring, like we did years for past, accepted immigrants, a pathway. So I want to see reform in our immigration system that's not connected to a wall or the National Guard. That's about giving a path for dreamers and a path for undocumented people. So our farmers and our businesses and our manufacturers can count on having good labor that they don't have to worry about will hide in the shadows. And I want reform that's bipartisan. Enough of Paul Ryan telling us what immigration reform has to look like. Enough of Donald Trump telling us. John Caco, stand up. I will, as your congresswoman, stand up and fight for our citizens, for those who want to be citizens, and those who are fleeing harm's way.